Hey, what's going on everyone? Bobobo here with Spider-Man No Way Home full spoiler review. So yeah, full spoilers here. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch that or go watch my non-spoilers review right here. So with that all out of the way, let's finally get into all the spoilers, the nitty-gritty, and the holy shit moments that will have you peeing in your pants right there in the theater along with everyone else. We're talking all the references, all the Easter eggs, all the cameos, who showed up, who didn't, and the post-credit scene, as well as what that means for the future of the MCU. The movie itself is spectacular, but it's not without its negatives. So in my non-spoiler review, I was still on that massive hype trip coming out of the movie, but now that I've had more than a day to sit on it and really think about it, there are some gripes and negatives, which I'll go into later. Alright. Let's Scooby-Doo this shit. So the story picks up immediately from the end of Far From Home. Mysterio reveals that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. J. Jonah Jameson is on the big screen in Times Square just shouting out all this and that and just letting the media dogs out on Peter. And Peter goes to rescue Zendaya from basically a group of harassing strangers taking photos of them. There was also this Karen in the crowd basically saying that, oh, Spider-Man punched me when he actually didn't do anything. So I don't know, that was kind of infuriating to see. And as he swings up, there's even a guy trying to jump and latch onto them. This guy probably has no plans for what will actually happen if he really does grab on and swings with them. Probably just regret that decision and fall off. So they managed to swing back home and get changed. And while that was happening, Aunt May at the same time is actually breaking up with Happy. They hear something in Peter's room and they go in and yep, it's that typical awkward scene again with Peter in all his almost naked muscular glory. Peter then closes all the windows and blinds, but to no avail because the helicopters are already descending on their apartment. They are then brought into custody and everyone who knows Peter as well, and they're being interrogated by the most nonchalant interrogator that kind of just played for comic relief, I guess. They do keep mentioning that they need a lawyer, and boom! Suddenly this walking stick just gets punched into the ground as the camera pans out to reveal Matt Murdock, played by none other than Charlie Cox himself. This is great, oh my god. This reveal was literally 10 minutes into the movie and everyone at the theater just exploded seeing him on screen. I literally couldn't even catch the first lines he was saying because the crowd was just so wild. And that was it for Daredevil. It was just as fast as he came, he just went. He's not in any more of the movie at all, but he does have a cool moment when he catches like a milk carton from out of nowhere that was thrown by somebody outside the window. That was pretty cool. So suddenly all the court stuff is wrapped up without another mention of it. I kind of feel like they put the Daredevil scene in just so that they could say that, you know, hey, Murdock is in the MCU now, you know. And Peter and MJ and Ned gets to go back to school. We do get a funny bit here where we see Flash has dyed his hair blonde to show how cool he is now that he's friends with Spider-Man. This is one of the gripes I have with the movie is that it shifts from a very dark tone to very comedic in almost no time at all. And it happens multiple times throughout the film. It's like a very serious moment and suddenly a joke comes in out of nowhere and kind of just ruins the mood a little bit for me. We do get a scene here with Peter's teachers basically fangirling over him and even builds this tribute display case. So after this, we finally get to the main overarching story for Peter. It's their last year, their senior year of high school, and they're just trying to apply it and get into college. More specifically, they want to get into MIT, which makes sense because they're all pretty much geniuses in the high school. This kind of brought me back to the horrors of high school where, you know, that anxiety of getting into college was basically having everyone almost pissing their pants every time that they get an admissions letter back. It was pretty realistic and I like that. We get a montage of Peter and Aunt May moving into Happy's apartment in Long Island City and them getting rejection letters from different colleges. Finally, the one from MIT comes in and they all get rejected, but not from them, you know, not being good enough to get in. They actually get rejected because they're associated with Spider-Man, which is ridiculous because in my opinion, you would think that having a superhero celebrity in your school would definitely boost your school's popularity and admissions and all that. I can already imagine like MIT calling Harvard up, being like, hey, look what we got. And Harvard is just sulking in the corner. Anyway, so this is the moment where Peter decides to go to Doctor Strange to see if they can cast some kind of spell to get everyone to forget this whole thing so that his friends can get into college. He goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum and we see two basically human robots shoveling snow. I guess this is what the interns have to do to start off their magic careers. And surprisingly, Wong is apparently now the Sorcerer Supreme by technicality, as Strange was dusted for 5 years. It's actually different from the trailers. Wong doesn't say that the, don't cast the spell, it's too dangerous line. But they play it off really almost like a joke. So they cast the spell, and while Strange is doing so, Peter's like, hey, can you add this person to the exception list? Like, does he think that it's a computer firewall or an antivirus or something that you can just add exceptions to? Anyways, he keeps adding names and Strange keeps having to alter his spell. And yeah, that's how the spell gets botched and we don't really see anything happen at this time. It's almost like it didn't work, but Strange is really pissed off. He's like, you changed my spell 6 times. He also gets pissed at Peter that he didn't even try to call the admissions office to, plea that you should consider MJ and Ned into, being admitted to MIT before he thought about casting a whole spell that mind wipes everyone in the universe and the multiverse. So that was pretty funny. So Peter goes back to look for the admissions officer with Strange's advice and on the highway and try to convince her that she should reconsider MJ and Ned. And he's wearing a pretty wrinkled up suit and tie. I don't know if it's because of the Spidey suit on top of his regular suit that, or he's just that broke, but it was a cool touch. He finds her, but oh no, Doc Ock appears out of nowhere and they have a really cool action scene here. Doc Ock actually has the upper hand until he stabs Peter, and part of his nanotech transfers to his claws. To his surprise, Peter's suit actually has control over that nanotech, and it actually says pairing new device. So he basically controls Doc Ock's claws and saves the admissions officer. Green Goblin shows up, but Peter and Doc Ock gets teleported back to the dungeon and Doc gets locked up in a magic cage. We see that Lizard is already being captured, and Strange says that they have to catch all the other ones that have come into their universe. MJ and Ned also gets invited here, and Ned really fangirls over all the torture devices in the Undercroft here. So we see Peter trying to wash this green goo from his suit that he got hit with from just random people harassing him on the street. He can't get it out, so he turns the suit inside out with all the wires coming out of it. And this is that black and gold suit we see from the trailers. He swings out to these power lines and finds Electro, still played by Jamie Foxx, but he's no longer a human jellyfish from The Amazing Spider-Man. And they get a really cool fight scene, and Sandman actually helps out Peter like he did back in Spider-Man 3. That is until he finds out that this isn't the same Peter that he knew. So yeah, all the bad guys gets captured and gets locked up in the Undercroft. We finally get a reveal of Willem Dafoe as he smashes his mask to get rid of his inner demon on his shoulder, or so we think. He actually goes to Feast, which is the homeless shelter that Peter and Aunt May runs that we saw from Far From Home. Here, Norman is speaking with Aunt May that he wants to help Peter get everyone back to their own universes. So Peter takes them back without a second thought. And as they arrive, Strange is there with his magic box that he says will basically send them all back to their own universes. But we also learned that if they got sent back, they would just die like in their original timelines. It's basically their fate. This is a little bit confusing here as they're all from different universes, but also from different timelines within those different universes. But anyways, so Peter gets second thoughts about sending them back to die. And I totally get Peter's point of view of doing the right thing, which, he gets from Aunt May's advice, as he's coming from a much more emotional side to his actions, whereas Strange is much more logical in his approach. Peter then just steals the magic box from Strange and tries to get away with it. Strange gets a really cool action scene here as he punches Peter into the magic mirror dimension. And I guess, just to try to confuse Peter. He does mention that he's in complete control in this dimension, but somehow he still has a pretty hard time getting the box back. So Peter somehow sees some geometry in the patterns in the mirror dimension and figures out that he can beat Strange at his own game with math. Okay. So he actually manages to web up Strange. He also steals the magic box and also his sling ring. And he gives both of these to Ned and MJ and tells them to hide and wait for him. He's basically gonna try to reverse the villain's psycho personalities, but he tells them that if that doesn't work, then MJ will have to push the button as a last resort to send them back. So all the villains with no handcuffs or nothing goes to Happy's apartment. This was pretty cool, but also a little bit immersion breaking as they all just chill and relax around while waiting for Peter to come up with custom solutions for them one by one. But we do get some background and emotional dialogue here, especially from Jamie Foxx. So that was good to see. It was also funny to hear about how both Electro and Sandman fell into something and became villains. Now, I'm not a comic book reader, but is this like a trope? Like, do all the villains just happen to be walking and just happen to trip and fall into something to become villains? Anyway, so Peter first creates a new chip for Doc Ock, and surprisingly, it works and turns Doc Ock good again. So Doc Ock then returns all the nanobots back to Peter, and this is where Peter gets his new suit design with the gold stripes that wraps around his suit, kind of like an octopus, I guess, which is pretty cool. And this is where the movie really takes a nasty turn, where Peter's tingle gets a cool new effect, showing that he's seeing something really wrong here, but he doesn't know exactly what it is. So it turns out that Norman has actually been pretending that he's normal this whole time, but he's actually just still being controlled by the Green Goblin alter ego. They then all break out into a huge fight. What surprised me was how strong Green Goblin was, especially seeing how frail Willem Dafoe is. This sequence is where we also get the famous line from Aunt May this time, the "with great power comes great responsibility" one. It just so happens that this is also the part where Aunt May passes away due to Green Goblin's bomb and his glider. Yeah, this part definitely got me teary-eyed for sure. Especially seeing Tom Holland's acting, it just hit me right in the guts. So Peter leaves the scene to deal with his loss. We then cut to Ned and MJ at Ned's place, and Ned really just waving his hands around saying that, he can know where Peter is right now. And what do you know? A portal opens up and Andrew Garfield enters with his same Spidey suit from his own movies. This was just great. And I know that he has denied about being in this movie about 1,000,000 times now, but it's just a great scene. I just have no other words. Ned then waves his hands around again, and this time Tobey Maguire comes in, and they have, oh my god, just seeing both of them here is just, whew. Okay, yeah. So the two Spider-Man's dialogue alludes to the fact that pretty much all Peter Parkers have to go through events in their lives where they lose someone dear to them. They all have similarities in how they deal with it too, and I just loved it. So they find our own MCU Peter Parker, and wow, this scene is just like from the Batman, with the two older Spider-Men on top of this tower, and they convince our Peter that this is all worth it, despite our own MCU Peter is basically just gonna give up and, give into his rage. I'm not gonna go too deep into the details here, but, just that their dialogue really gets you right in the feels. So whatever I say isn't gonna do it justice, just watch the movie. They all go back to like a science lab to devise cures for each of the remaining villains. But we do get a moment where they all stand up and point at each other. And I know this is like a classic one it was just a pleasure to see. There's also a second moment when they try to figure out how Tobey can produce webs from his wrists while the other two actually had to build web shooters. And this is really funny. They then basically lure the villains into the new construction that's going on at the Statue of Liberty, now brand new with a new Captain America shield instead of the torch. And I'm surprised the other two Spider-Men didn't mention or ask about what the hell the shield is all about. It has some pretty funny interaction and dialogue here, and Toby mentions that he fought someone with black goo from space. My question is, it's pretty far into the movie already. Where is Tom Hardy's Venom? Also, Andrew Spider-Man gives Toby Spider-Man like a back massage, so that was kind of weird but funny to see as well. So the villains arrive, and at first they're all super sloppy and uncoordinated in their attacks. But then, the Spider-Man huddle up and decide that they need to get better teamwork, and this is where the real show begins. As it is just such a fan service moment where they all swing down together and even swing from each other's webs. Doctor Strange also comes back from a portal that Ned opens up, and Strange is pretty surprised that Ned could do this, because if you remember from his own movie, it took him a while to get the hang of the sling ring. We also get a very emotional moment where MJ falls from the scaffolding and Tom tries to save her, but actually gets caught by the Green Goblin. That's when Andrew, without a moment's hesitation, just dives for MJ, and he does save her, yeah. He really redeems himself here, because if he missed again, then that would just be devastating for all parties involved. But here, I think it actually makes the Amazing Spider-Man movies just that much better just because of this one scene, and Andrew being able to redeem himself. Green Goblin then sticks a pumpkin bomb into the magic box, and that explodes. And the very fabric of reality starts to shatter, and you can see the rifts in the sky start to open up. Strange tries to fix it, but it's actually just too late for that. During this time, Holland is on the ground level fighting the Green Goblin. This part, I just love Tom Holland's acting, as you can really see the rage within him, and he just wants to kill Norman, straight up. He absolutely just beats up Green Goblin, and the sound design here just really makes every punch sound like bombs going off, and it's really impactful. He does almost kill Norman, but Toby comes in and stops him. Toby then gets stabbed in the back by Green Goblin, but he just plays it off like, yeah, whatever, it's just a scratch. Tom then decides that the only way to save everyone is to do another spell that makes everyone forget him, like it was supposed to happen in the first place. He then goes to say goodbye to everyone. He first goes to the other Spider-Man, and this also got me teary-eyed. I mean, just go watch the movie in this scene. After that, he goes to say goodbye to Ned and MJ, and man, I'll admit it, I cried here. Yeah, their relationship in this movie just really got to me. It's like just another punch to the heartstrings. So they share a very emotional goodbye as Peter tells them that he will come find them after they lose their memory and make them remember. We then cut to an ending where Peter goes to the same Dunkin' Donuts place that MJ works at, and this time he has a full script ready. But as he starts to realize that they're probably better off and safer without him, he decides not to convince them anymore. And this was just a great contrast to a previous scene with the admissions officer. Clearly could tell that Peter didn't rehearse anything he was about to say. I like that this time it was a conscious choice by Peter. And it also makes this, I think, one of the saddest and at the same time, one of the best endings to a Spider-Man movie that we've ever had. The very last scene we get is Peter getting his own shitty apartment and designing his own suit, which I'm pretty sure is the very original classic suit from the comics. Again, I'm not a comic book reader, but I'm guessing that's what it is. Okay, post-credit scene time. So for the mid-credit scene, we get, drumroll, Tom Hardy. He's in Mexico, and he's just learning that this isn't his universe. And we don't even see Venom here, and he gets sent back to his own universe. This was just really lackluster to me, but he did leave behind a droplet of symbiote goop on the bar table. So I guess we'll see our own version of Venom, maybe even played by Tom Hardy. We can all hope, right? I'm not too sure what Marvel and Sony's plan here is, because Tom Holland is still in the MCU universe and everyone else went back to their own. So maybe in the future, Strange or Wanda can open up another portal and let Holland to, travel back and forth between these universes. And the actual post-credit scene is the trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This trailer went by pretty quick and I just caught a glimpse of some stuff. So Strange goes to see Wanda and asks for her help. We see her in her Scarlet Witch dress. We also see Strange using a new type of red colored magic, it almost looks like blood magic to me. We also see an evil variant of Doctor Strange, Mephisto maybe, and I might have caught a glimpse of Daredevil, but I'm not too sure. I'll definitely cover that when the official version comes out. Overall, the highlight of the movie was definitely on the Spider-Man, or rather Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and the villain being just a nuisance rather than actual show-stopping threats. This movie has a much darker tone than what we've gotten before, but I think it always cuts too quickly into some joke. But Peter is arguably the best as he ever was in this movie, and he's definitely the most tragic and has gone through the most tragic events out of all three of the Spider-Man, I feel like. And I really feel like that he's becoming Spider-Man, not just, Spider-Boy or Spider-Baby, I don't know. The Tom Hardy scene just left me pretty disappointed. Only because they set it up as if he was gonna have a big part in this movie from Venom 2. But this movie, to me, definitely makes all the previous Spider-Man movies even better, as it gives a lot of closure for each of the Spider-Man. To me, it feels like Sony and Marvel used all their trump cards all in one go, and it's tough to see how they can really top this one. And it definitely feels like a soft reboot is coming for Spider-Man. It definitely feels like a soft reboot is coming for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. This movie actually just feels like a soft reboot in itself. But yeah, that's about it. What did you think about the movie? Let me know your thoughts on the movie here. And yeah, thanks for watching all the way till the end. Please like the video and comment down below with your thoughts. And also guys, please subscribe to the channel, as I got a lot more great stuff coming. Hawkeye episode 6 is next. So yeah, I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.